Good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Daley. I am with Edward B. Walsh and Associates. We are one of the consultants for East Caln Township. The township had requested that I come out and discuss our projects that we are have been working on with them to address stormwater. These projects range. There were 7 projects that were listed, and these are projects and issues that the township has had over a number of years, and that they've had on their list. And when Barry had reached out to them and said, "Hey, what are some stormwater projects and items that you're working on?" They had me go through and kind of summarize them for you. So there's a lot of information. I'm going to kind of just hit the highlights of them real briefly. Our first project here that we have listed, and these are in no particular order, these weren't prioritized or anything, was Windridge subdivision basin retrofit. So the Windridge subdivision is located off of Boot Road. It's a residential community. I forget the year it was built, but it has a number of stormwater facilities that were built prior to the current regulations. Those stormwater facilities were designed to control peak rate, and we believe, we haven't done our analysis on it yet, but we believe we can retrofit those a couple of the basins within that within the community there to improve water quality, to reduce sediment load, and to have some volume control. So our goal would be to implement retrofit projects onto those basins, naturalize them, and try to get some groundwater infiltration, which would reduce the flooding. Next project here, the next one here, actually, that I have some maps of each of the locations, and I mean that those 2 basins that we have listed on here off of Woods Edge Lane and Windridge Lane were 2. There's 3 or 4 different basins within there, but 2 of them we felt were good options to do some retrofit projects for. The next project here we have listed is Downing Circle and the township property. So the township property is located there off of Bell Tavern Road by Bell Tavern Park. Downing Circle is just upslope of that. There is about 134-acre drainage area coming down from the golf course all the way up McIlvain Drive to Whitford Road. It's a very large drainage area, and all that area was built prior to any stormwater management controls. So there is, through the Downing Circle development area there and the township property, there's a lot of erosion that's occurring within the backyards of these properties and across where the township property is. And we feel there's some options and ability in there to do some vegetated swales to try to go ahead and stabilize these areas, to try to promote some groundwater infiltration, and to improve water quality. So we had kind of listed as a potential option for us to look at, involving some piping, and then also trying to get those swales to really, as a water quality improvement, would be a big item for that. We'll do that. That's the map of the location. We'll just jump right over to the next slide there. The next project here we have listed is a Route 113 drainage improvements. So there is a large watershed that drains down off of 113, and there's an outlet pipe that discharges right below. I forget the name of that development there, townhome development there on your left as you're heading down the hill before the Route 30 bypass. Tall trees. Yes, thank you. And right below that, there's a large the PennDOT stormwater pipe discharges onto that private property, and there's a large erosion area that has gone through those residential properties. That water then leads down and runs through the Bell Tavern community, and then eventually across the 30 bypass, or down through. I guess it actually goes through we're up to where the 30 bypass is, and I'm not exactly sure where it discharges from there. But we had looked at a number of years ago when this came about here at a potential to do some stabilization projects on those private properties to limit that erosion and the sedimentation that occurs with it. We also had considered at the 30 bypass and Route 113, there's a very large basin, a kind of an area that we don't believe is utilized to the best extent. And we had recommended or discussed with the township an analysis of that whole drainage area to look at maybe trying to create that current basin and utilize it better. And trying to maybe, instead of sending the water down through the Bell Tavern community, have it go there and design that facility to actually fill up. We've been monitoring it for years. We never see any large amounts of water accumulating even after the bigger storm events. So that was another project that we had listed to consider here, the 113 area. Going over to the next one here, Project D is the Route 322 flooding Boot Road south of Robbins Road. This is a flooding issue right above the Dara sewage train, right by the Wawa. That whole road gets flooded. We looked at the cause of that, and there are undersized stormwater management piping within that area. The industrial community there right next to it here has some basins within it that were all built well prior to the current regulations of stormwater management, and we feel that there's an opportunity within that community there to go through and maybe do some basin retrofits to help reduce the amount of flooding that's coming out onto 322, and to possibly look at upgrading some storm sewer along that section of 322 in order to reduce that flooding. It's a safety hazard if anybody's obviously been through that during the big events, and that it seems to be an issue with that conveyance system dumping into the east branch of the Brandywine Creek. So that was our project number D. Project number E is 293 Old Kings Highway, the Village of Bell Tavern. So the last project here we talked about, the Bell Tavern, was the far west side of it. On the east side of it here, over by the golf course where the sharp bend is, on Old Kings Highway, there is a large amount of stormwater coming down through McIlvain Drive, and going back behind this property here, 293 Old Kings Highway. There's a large erosion occurring in that area, and that continues to flow down into the Bell Tavern. They've had erosion problems in their backyards, and we think there's an opportunity in there to do some water quality improvements to stabilize these areas in order to reduce the sediment load discharging into the watershed. And as some of the other presenters have noted tonight, and as I said, that sediment load really restricts the flood carrying capacity of your downstream properties and downstream streams. So it's a good thing to try to reduce as much erosion as can here for the whole watershed benefits. Next one here, Project F, is the George Pitt Drive, Norwood Road drainage improvements. Norwood Road is the tributary that runs along Norwood Road that drains down to the east branch of the Brandywine Creek, is Ludwig's Run, is what it's referred to as. And that George Pitt Drive is part of the Williamsburg subdivision. And we've had some problems with when during the heavy rain events, water not going where it needs to go. The water does bypass the swales and the conveyance systems, which then adds more water to Ludwig's Run and bypasses the stormwater management basins. So we think there's an opportunity in that area for relatively nominal cost to try to make some improvements to the collection and conveyance systems to convey that runoff to the stormwater management basins as they were designed, and help minimize the flooding. It works during the smaller storm events, but any of the bigger storm events, this water is bypassing the basins and contributing to the downstream flooding. And our last project here that East Caln Township has had listed on our project list here was that same creek, Ludwig's Run, which is a branch of the east branch of the Brandywine Creek. On that channel there's large scale erosion that's occurring on there. A lot of down trees along that area. It's within mainly open space areas for homeowners associations, and we feel there's an opportunity within that watershed here to do some stream bank stabilization projects, plantings, and do some improvements along Ludwig's Run in order to reduce the erosion and sedimentation that contributes down into the east branch of the Brandywine Creek and downstream properties. So those are our projects here. They are again, no particular order, and those are the items that the East Caln Township kind of has on their wish list to do to help and improve the watershed.